Hello, by way of introduction, my name is Ken West. I'm a Baptist missionary. I'm in the Black Sea region. I've been here about 12 years by the grace of God. The Lord has been really good to us. And what I'd like to do today is just start out the beginning of a series on how to raise support for the mission field. And I came on the field around April of 2002. Prior to that, I had made some preview trips, came over and spied out the land, checked it out, and afterwards I began a mailing list, and that's kind of like how I started. Personally, I actually was supporting missions in this area of the world like 10 years prior to even coming to this area, and I went to Bible school, and during Bible school I had some very low income jobs, and but they were enough to survive. And what I like to do, I always had money folded up and I kept it in the corner of my wallet. The church I went to, Bible Baptist Church in Pensacola, they always had missionaries coming through on Wednesday nights, very frequently. And they were very good to missions, very good to missionaries coming through. And I always kept some extra money in the corner of my wallet. And anytime they wanted to take an offering for a missionary, that money was already programmed and pre-planned, and that's where it was going. And then sometimes we had missionaries come through that the church had already supported, and they chose not to take an offering for some reason because they already supported the missionary and it already gave them money to come through and things like that. Expenses already paid and everything. And what they did was they allowed you after the church service to go up and greet and shake the missionary's hand. I always like to shake his hand with a little bit of money in my hand, and I wasn't the only one doing that. There were lines of men wanting to do that. Everybody wanted to shake a missionary's hand going through, and they shook his hand and put money in his hands or put money in his pockets, and we really enjoyed blessing the missionary. We really enjoyed doing that, and so since I've been saved. Most of the church, I got saved back in 1982. Most of the churches I have been around were very missionary oriented. And the Bible says in Mark chapter 16, verse 15, it says, "And he said to them, Go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature." So we have an interest to getting the gospel out to as many people as we can. And so I've always tried to be hooked up with a church that had an interest in missions, that had an interest in soul winning, that kind of thing. And what I'd like to do today is talk about marketing, missions and marketing. And believe it or not, missions is kind of like a business. It's very similar to a business. And this is the way that I handle it. If you're not comfortable using the terminology marketing, then whatever term you prefer is fine with me. I'm just telling you the way that I have raised support myself. And I've been on the mission field for like 12 years. And when I first came here, I didn't do any deputation. It was all direct mail. It was all marketing. And what I did was my first preview trip, my first trip coming over to check out the area, coming up with a plan. I immediately started a prayer letter. And it was going out almost monthly as my plans and what I was going to do and when I was coming to the mission field. And miraculously, the Lord blessed me and the money started coming in. And so the money that came in, I took that money and went to the mission field, and I've been here for 12 years. And I've never had to go out and raise support, driving from church to church. And there's nothing wrong with it. I just never had to do that. And there are ways to look at this. And the way that I'm going to tell you how I did it is the way that I look at it. And I'm not saying my way is the only way. I'm not saying it's my way or no way at all. I'm not saying that at all. There's a lot of methodologies for raising support. I use direct mail. And what I did was I started mailing, after I got on the field, I started mailing postcards. And I mail them monthly. I've been here 12 years, and every single month I mail a postcard. And these are some examples of some postcards. This is like a Christmas card. It's me and a translator on this one. And this is, we did a little, we used some people at our church. We made a video animation of Jonah. We called it Well University. Here's another card. This is a restaurant. I had a friend coming in from the USA. We went to a restaurant, and we gave them a big plate full of Reese cups from the USA. They don't have that over here, this area of the world. And we had Chick Tracts. We had Chick Tracts at the bottom of the plate. It's kind of like a Trojan horse, you know. And those waitresses, they really love those Reese cups. And then when they start eating, they see the tracks at the bottom. Just an interesting way to witness. On these cards, you can put anything. You can put anything on. Here's a friend of mine and I having sheshlik. Sheshlik is the Russian word for barbecue, and this is a card I made up on how to make barbecue. You know, and here's a card. Here's a card just with a chart that we made up, where the dead go, explaining where your soul leaves the body at death, that kind of thing. So you can use all kind of variety. You can use. Here's a chart. I mean, here's a card that we did. It's me preaching in there and some members of our church and that kind of thing. And here's another card. Here's a letter. My father passed on, but a while back we were praying for him about a situation. He had Alzheimer's disease, but he's passed on. And these cards, you can virtually put anything on these cards. I've used like a couple different vendors. I've used AmazingMail.com, and I've used ClickToMail.com. Currently, I'm using ClickToMail.com. And what I do is I use kind of a team approach. I see my support base as like a team, and I don't tell them you're on my team. I don't say that, but it's kind of like a team effort. And basically, there's two different parts of this. There's people that are praying for you, and there's people that are praying for you and financially supporting you. And what I do is, if anybody's interested in my ministry, if they're praying for me, I want to make sure that they're on my mailing list. And I send these out every single month. And I don't require them to send me money or nothing like that to get these cards. And what I do is I mail them, and a lot like some churches and some people get a lot of mail. And the good thing about postcards like this is they're colorful. They got eye candy on it. And I mean, these, you can see bright colors here. They always, on one side, have a lot of color on it. And usually if somebody receives mail with these cards bubble up to the top. They bubble up to the top. If somebody's going through the mail, they'll see the color. It's like eye candy, and instantly they're going to pull that card out and read it. And some missionaries, they write prayer letters, long ones, and sometimes I've seen them front and back. I've seen letters wrote in a font like either 12 or 14 point font, front and back. And I've seen some even wrote a 10-point font, which is really small. It might be difficult for me. I get a headache reading it, but it's readable. But I've seen them write letters front and back. And a lot of them, they write the letters every 3 months or every 2 months, and some write them every month. What I do personally is I make it a point to send out a postcard every single month. Every single month I do this. And you can, actually with a little practice, it's easy to make the cards. And I have an iPad. I'm actually designing my pictures. You can download apps on your iPad to, like for collage, you can mix pictures together. Like this particular card here was built right on my iPad. It's a beautiful card. It's color. It's built right on my iPad. And also there's freeware that you can download on your computer that's a little bit more difficult to use, like GIMP, G-I-M-P. It's a little bit more difficult to use. But maybe, if you're not graphically, if you're not the type of person that's really good with graphic arts, what you could do is actually make your prayer card. Whoever does the design graphics for your prayer card, make it very colorful, and use some vendor, postcard vendor, and just every time that you send your card out, if you go the postcard route, just make sure that you got your prayer card on the front. And then all you have to do is worry about the back. Now these are the back of my cards. I have my own little kind of like way of doing my cards. And get these organized here. All right. I have my own way of doing it. And this is kind of like a logo I had developed when I first came here back in 2002. And for 3 years we did tent ministry. We traveled all over Ukraine mainly northern Ukraine, but sometimes some other areas in the west. And for like 3 years, we did like tent ministry. So I made a logo out of that. And there's our shield, coat of arms. We made that shield. We wrote a book on heart health, and we use that shield in that book. And what I do is I try to keep these cards real condensed. And all these cards are basically almost the same as far as size. And anybody can read this in 5 minutes. I mean, it's quickly digestible. And the good thing about it is if it gets in their mailbox, it surfaces, they see the colorful front, and they rotate it over, and they're reading the back of it. And I always request prayer and thanking people for their support and praying for us and that kind of thing. And basically, it's really easy to do. People, they want to hear from you. If they're investing in you, they want to know what you're doing over there. And people are they're investing in eternal fruit. That's what they're investing. There's like 5 crowns that you can receive. There's a crown of righteousness, a crown of glory, incorruptible, crown of rejoicing, crown of life. These are crowns that people are investing in by the fact that they're supporting you, and they need feedback from you, and it encourages them. I've heard so many people tell me how much they really like the cards. I've been sending these out for like 12 years, and my mother has a scrapbook in the USA. My mother is kind of like director of archives, you might say. She has a scrapbook, and she's a real dear mother, and she loves her son, and she's kept every single one of my postcards. And I've kept the digitized. I kept everything digitally, but not the cards themselves. And what I do is when I do my mail out, I actually have one come to me as well, and that way I can do quality control. And my mother, when she receives the card, she usually sends me an email or a message letting me know that she received it, the quality of it, that kind of thing. And I've got other friends that watch it as well. But they're a good way. They're a good way to communicate to people what you're doing. And when I travel now, I mean, the cell phones over here, the cell phones make pictures. And it doesn't take any special effort to bring a camera. When I first got here, yes, I had to carry a little camera on my side. I brought a camera. Made a lot of pictures, but it's not necessarily now. And even like your iPads, these tablets, they all have really good built-in cameras, you know. So it's really easy to pick up pictures everywhere you go. And then, like if you have an iPad, you can be at a coffee restaurant or traveling or whatever and actually work on your card from the road. You can actually do that. So I did my support raising through direct mail and mainly postcards, and I send them every single month. And this is the beginning of a series, and we hope to have more videos coming out about this process of raising support. There's many different ways of doing it, and I'm not saying any way is the only way. So far, that's what's worked for me using postcards. I've been here like 12 years. Usually every year or every other year, I take a couple weeks to a month vacation, go back and see my family and that kind of thing. And hopefully soon I'll do an actual furlough where I can go back and travel and maybe raise some more support, visiting churches, that kind of thing. Missionary income is like it's like up and down and up and down and up and down. And sometimes you have a lot of good offerings, and sometimes you have some small offerings. And it's kind of like the animal world. The squirrel goes out and gathers nuts for the cold weather, you know, and saves them, and they're there. And missions is the same way. You have some good months and you have some bad months, and you just don't go out and blow your money. You have to be a real good steward of the money that you have. And if you don't have a need to spend it, then save it, because the next month coming up could be a real small month, you know, financially. So anyway, this has been on missionary marketing, and if you have any questions, if there's any way you can get in touch with me, I would be glad to try to answer your questions. Hope this video has been a blessing to you. Thank you very much for watching.